Hi watch people, Skip at Watching SRQ, here today to talk a little bit about how the Timex Weekender became my gateway watch into the world of watch collecting. So this is really not intended to be a review, but for those of you who can't live without some specs, then I will put the reference number up here and the basic specs, and we'll move right along. So I'm sure you've seen the Timex Weekender around. Back several years ago, I was looking at EDC items, trying to flesh out some nicer stuff to keep in my pockets at work, and so forth and so on. I gotten kind of tired of using the plastic pens that are forever laying around, the boring kind of knives for unboxing stuff, and decided that there must be better out there. And so I went looking around, and of course I end up in the EDC community, not so much on a tactical basis, although there's a lot of that out there, but more on the just nice stuff for my pockets. And I found a lot of things. I found decent pens and pencils and so forth that don't irritate me from a design standpoint. I ended up with a number of interesting knives and whatnot that I can use to open stuff, and on, of course, the ubiquitous pocket tools and whatnot that you see out there in the EDC world. You can never run out of things to see there. So in any case, in that EDC world, there was a watch that kept popping up, and that was the Timex Weekender. I can see why it was always popping up. It's a pretty classic field watch, and heaven knows it was very reasonably priced. Quartz movement, you just kind of chuck it on your wrist and forget about it. Move on with your life. But so I picked one of these up. I actually know the date when I did pick it up, because Amazon Prime being the memory device that it is. So April 26, 2015, the beginning of a journey. So one of the things I liked about the Timex Weekender was both its reasonable price, clear legibility, and I liked the nylon strap. I'd had a nylon strap like this on a watch as a kid. I think it was another Timex, as a matter of fact. And I always enjoyed wearing it. So I picked it up. And as I was working along with it, I found that there have to be other straps out there. So I went looking for Timex Weekender straps. And at the time, there were a handful available. And I kept looking and looking, and finally, of course, came across what you're probably saying to yourself, oh, NATO straps. So I came across NATO straps and ended up with an orange one, and then a blue one, and then a vintage Bond one. And they just kept piling up. And as I kept looking for new options in straps, of course, you end up looking at other watches as well. And so I got interested and started to look a little deeper into the world of watches. And I'd always worn quartz watches and hadn't really thought much about it in the really. And so at some point, reading up on watches, I ended up looking a little deeper. And I ended up buying a Seiko 5, like this little guy, who is, of course, not wearing his usual shoes at the moment, a kind of jingly-jangly bracelet that nobody really seems to love, folded links and all. But, so yes, I bought this guy, and again, kept looking at watches. Of course, that's when I really started to tune into the YouTube world and into the forums and Facebook groups and whatnot. And I got interested in the automatic movements, and started to become a movement junkie to a degree. I bought one of the Swatch System 51 watches when they came out. I believe this was the second generation of those. Really liked the colorful pop that it had. I ended up with a Mondaine Stop to Go, one of these little guys, and we will find that I'll be doing a video on all of these at some point along the way. But the Stop to Go has a fascinating movement. It's a kind of a dual movement in quartz. If you haven't seen one of these, then it's worth checking it out. It's a little different from a lot of the other Mondaines that are out there. I got interested in doing mods and started in down the world of the Russian watches for that purpose. And so I started getting into Vostok, investigated quickly the things like changing bezels and case backs. I am not in any way an experienced modder at this stage of the game, simply learning and trying some preliminary things. I also started branching out into vintage. So there are a lot of different things out there on the market that are really cool and are not necessarily super desirable from a monetary standpoint, but cool stuff. So this is a Traditions watch that was part of Sears, and upside down Traditions watch that was from Sears. Always nice to get it oriented correctly, hey? But and so the electronic watches like these. I've got a variety of things in vintage quartz as well. And then, of course, at the moment, my sweetie pie, thanks to a whole lot of love in the community for the Seiko Monsters. This is the third generation Seiko Monster SZSC003. They just recently came out with an 05 that is the new Jade Monster. But this one works for me. I really love it. I wear it on a variety of straps, and certainly the beginning of my journey into a whole lot of straps. I've got more straps than I have watches, it seems, at this stage of the game. But I'm really enjoying this watch thing, and I can blame it all on this guy, the Timex Weekender. If only it had just had a simple leather strap or a bracelet, odds are I never would have gone any further. But suddenly you've got a slip-through strap, and it's on. Thanks, Timex, for setting me down this road, and thank all of you for tuning in to see my little story. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'm just starting out and would really appreciate your support. You can find me on Instagram at WatchingSRQ as well. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.